Barrie Deas is the Chief Executive of the National Federation of Fishermen's Organisations. Barrie, thank you very much for joining us this morning. Look, Paris has pledged to ban all British vessels from landing catches from next week as potential retaliation. Can you see that happening? If that did, what would the impact be?
Well, I don't know if it will happen or not. That lies with the French government. The impact, there would be some impact on our vessels, but not huge. I think it's the long list of other threats that are in there, including a kind of zero tolerance enforcement approach and a prohibition on fisheries products being exported into France. I think that those are the things that would bite if they were introduced. I think what our concern is that this has really got very little to do with fishing. This is the French government flexing its muscles, posturing, if you like, ahead of the presidential election in France. This is about politics. It's not really about fishing.
Barrie, currently 171 vessels French vessels have been licensed to fish 171 vessels in total have been licensed to fish in the UK, of which 103 are French. But the French are saying it should be more. Are they right?
When you license, fishing vessels, there are always these kind of threshold cases. Some of them will not have been able to lay their hands on evidence that they've fished there historically. Others will be kind of opportunists, just trying to join the queue for a license, because a license with an endorsement to fish in UK waters would be a valuable commodity. So I can see how the issue has arisen. Similar kind of issues have arisen domestically when licenses have been limited within the UK. But this is not an issue that should be resolved at this sort of level. It's essentially it's a technical issue that ought to be resolved at a much lower technical level. And my understanding is that the talks between the UK and the EU about these licenses that have been proceeding at a technical level have been very reasonable, have been progressing along quite well. The issue is the injection of this very belligerent rhetoric from the French government. And as I said earlier, I don't really think that's got anything to do with fishing. I think that's got to do with French domestic politics.
You're talking about sort of the political implications, but of course, practically it is having serious ramifications, particularly for those two British trawlers. What kind of precautions are fishermen taking? Are they taking any? Are they worried about being detained by the French when they go out?
Well, I think they've got to be concerned against the background of what's happened in the Baie de Seine. But this is strange because a zero tolerance enforcement regime applied by France. If the UK was to descend into a kind of tit for tat approach, the French fish a lot more in UK waters than we fish in their waters, just the sheer number of vessels. So the French fleet is very exposed if we were going down that road. I certainly don't advocate that kind of tit-for-tat approach. I think this is something that needs to be de-escalated.
What approach would you advocate for?
Sorry, say that again?
What approach would you advocate for?
I think we need to reduce the temperature. I admit that lies largely in the hands of the French, because this, as I keep repeating, this has got very little to do with fishing. This is about high-level politics against the background of the French presidential election. So I don't think that the issue really lies within our hands or the UK's hands. What we can do is proceed with what we're doing already, work through the licenses, the eligibility criteria, which vessels are eligible to fish in UK waters, grant them a license, and keep working at that technical level.
Yeah, I guess it's about those back-channel conversations, isn't it? Sort it out on a technical level, but make sure it looks good for the politicians so they look like they're being tough and they're getting what they want in an election build-up.
Yeah, it's not an issue that ought to be have been escalated to this level. This is why I don't think you can understand it in fishing terms. It just doesn't make sense. We've all got a lot to lose here. There are businesses on both sides of the channel that depend on the flow of fish, fisheries products, fish, shellfish. And we're all losers if this gets out of hand.